All right, Nathan, what movie are we going to be talking about for this episode?
You know what we're talking about. The Fall Guy. Come on.
Oh, yeah, The Fall Guy.
Get the
Ryan
tickets.
Gosling
Just
is
get the
funny.
tickets.
Okay, yeah, sure. Oh, shit! Oh, no, I fucked up. I got tickets for Challengers. I guess we have to watch that one.
I know why you want to watch Challengers.
I like tennis.
Right. Welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast, episode 136. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by the man himself, Matthew Neves. To my left.
Thank you.
And today, Neves is way too excited to review the movie Challengers.
Yeah.
Zendaya's latest film, and this film is directed by Luca Guadagnino. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Italian director. He's directed a lot of films such as Call Me by Your Name, the remake of Suspiria. So he's well familiar with.
I know his stuff is pretty like well known. I personally haven't. This is the first film I've seen of his.
Okay, nice. Same here. I've yet to watch his other films, although I've heard a lot of great things of all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we decided to pick Challengers because we heard a lot of good things about it. Reviews are pretty.
That's right. Reviews
pretty high.
Yeah, people are talking about this movie a lot, and we felt it was worth reviewing.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, there's been so many movies that are like typical, where it's like, okay, well, it's the Fall Guy.
Yeah, we could have did the Fall Guy.
We could have did the Fall Guy.
But it's like, I don't know how much we're gonna have to say about that movie.
Literally, sometimes when you see a bad comedy, it's like, how many times can you say it's not funny? Challengers felt like something different.
That's right. This movie is at least remarkable.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Oh, Nathan, you know what? I'm just going to say it right fucking now. After seeing Challengers and taking it in, because I saw this Thursday.
Yeah.
So I saw this a little bit earlier than you.
You had some time to let it simmer. To be fair, I saw it last night.
Yeah.
So these are my initial thoughts that I'm giving today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I could say is Challengers is like this is Monkey Man, and then this is Challengers. Challengers is reaching it higher for me every time I think about it. I'm not fucking joking. This might be my favorite movie of the year, and I'm going to go into it. Nathan, you fucking say what you need to say.
Well, first of all, you're horny.
What?
No.
Yeah, okay.
This movie, look, there's a lot of style choices here, right?
Yeah.
Here's one thing I can applaud. What's his name? Luca Guadagnino for
The director, yeah.
The director for is that you could tell he's very much into aesthetics.
Yes.
And he has style, and he takes a lot of chances with the shots, with the score,
Yes.
with some of the way the characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it lands for me, and I like it. Even the way the story's told, which is non-linear and is going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
At times, I feel like all this flashy bells and whistles, slow motion, and non-linear story is kind of making up for surface level relationships.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I felt about it. Some parts were just fucking annoying to me.
Okay.
Like the slow motion, I think, was used too much.
Okay.
With the score over it,
Yeah.
I fucking hated it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Like the synth score, there's some movies I've applauded. I love when they do that, like in movies like Thief.
Yeah.
Here, I didn't think it made sense. I didn't think it worked. I didn't like it. The slow motion was going on for too fucking long.
Right.
It kind of took me out of it. I don't know. This movie's like a mix of Whiplash and Saltburn.
Oh, okay. I know some people that enjoyed Saltburn. I will admit.
Yeah.
Whiplash is fucking amazing. So.
I love when it's like Whiplash.
Yeah.
I hate when it's like Saltburn.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I'm gonna be real with you. This is my kind of movie.
Okay.
But I'm going to explain that it's not just Because here's the thing with the marketing, they always do this for movies like this. It reminds me of like Showgirls, where it's just like, well, it's the sexy film. You're gonna have to,
threesome movie.
yeah, exactly. Literally, that's what it was marketed as, and
Yeah.
it's like, see it or you'll regret it, or something like that. And all the dude bros are like, whoa, you know. I totally get where you're coming from in that regard. This movie wasn't really that, in my opinion. I feel like it was actually professionally done. I actually gave a shit about every character. The soundtrack worked really well with the high intensity, and I actually cared about this love triangle that showed its toxicity within them. I feel like this is a beautiful representation of that, and it coincides with the music as well. It's not just playing this rambunctious, it's not just playing this loud music for the sake of it. There's patterns as to when they play it. And I feel like all the performances, I'm just going to say right now, Zendaya's fucking great in this movie. I think she perfects this character that's tries to be manipulative, tries to like get the whole world to be controlled in her life. And she realizes the older she gets, the less power she's going to get from that. And the two other guys are discovering themselves as well the older they get. They realize that not only are they not really good people, but they keep giving that excuse because they love tennis. It's a fucking sport, but they don't care. It's like, no, well, it's tennis. That's why I have to be a piece of shit. That's why I have to be rich and famous.
All I know how to do is hit a ball with a racket. I never learned social skills.
This love triangle is perfect because they're not good people.
Yeah.
Like,
I love the premise.
yes.
I love that. The love triangle, setting it around tennis. And I love that, you know, with this love triangle, you can build so much tension for a match that is essentially meaningless in both of their careers. You know what I mean? When you hear that it's a tennis movie and this guy is going for his, you know, like they build him up. That, like I know a bit about tennis. I've watched some tennis. He's one away from his Grand Slam, which means he's won every major tennis tournament in his career.
Right.
But he's on a slump, so he goes to play in the Challenger Tour, which is like the secondary tour. It's like the minor leagues of tennis, essentially.
Lesser,
Yeah. And then the way they're able to build up this, you know, this love triangle and the way they tell the story, by the time you get to the end and you see what happens in the match, this match that has no stakes really, that has the stakes of the Wimbledon final. Like it's high stakes. And they did a great job at that.
To me, it's the perfect analogy of the Hitchcock bomb in the table thing, where you start off with these two characters and they're just having a conversation. It's like, it's just a tennis match. Who fucking cares? And then you realize, oh, everyone involved in this, Zendaya and the two guys, their whole lives are changed after this.
True.
That's the whole thing. You don't know that when the film begins. You just think, oh, it's just this guy and his wife like watching. He's playing the game. It's like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And then as the film progresses, you go back in time, you go forward in time, you go in between, you realize, oh my God, like these people are so fucking toxic and it just gets worse and worse.
That is the highlight of the film. The way that you can go back to that, the end scene is in the beginning.
Yes.
But the way every time you go back to that scene, it means something a little bit different because you're like, you understand motivations better.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's great. I just don't like the fucking.
You don't like
I don't love the love triangle as much as you. Like,
no, really? What? Because here's the thing too. A lot of people, and again, it's going into, oh, well, they're just making out. Who gives a fuck? Like, oh, it's just, oh, the scene is going on way too long. I'm assuming you had that feeling when Zendaya was making out with one guy and she was making out with the other guy. And it was like she's having an affair. I looked at it as this is blocking done uniquely because I've seen so many movies nowadays where they just shoot wide. And it's just like, all right, let's hard cut to this. No, it looks like when she's having a relationship with her husband, this man looks like fucking broken. Like, it doesn't look like, I'm not like, people are like, oh yeah, the fucking weird into this shit type of thing. You watch the scene and you're like, oh my God, he looks broken. He looks like he doesn't know what to do with his life. And the only person that he actually cares for is not even Zendaya to a certain point. Because when she comes back to the house at the very end, she sees him with his kid. It's like he's trying to hold on to something. And I'm like, damn. Whereas the other guy, he's like, he knows
he's a fucking mess.
He
but
knows,
he's a great character.
He's so good. He knows he's fucked up. And I love the quote. I think my favorite line from him is when he's talking to Zendaya later on in the film. He's just like, hey, at least I know I'm fucked up. You're still trying to pretend that you're not.
Right.
It's like, we're all pieces of shit. You're just using tennis as the excuse.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh man.
Everybody is a piece of shit in this movie. I think Zendaya is great, like you said.
Yeah.
I think very much a criticism of Zendaya is that she hasn't had this this is the kind of role that I think Zendaya needed.
Yes.
Right? Because you could take her seriously as like a grown woman.
Exactly.
In this movie, right?
I fully agree.
She's not, you know what I'm saying? She's not Mary Jane.
No.
She's like,
She's not, and that's the thing too. Even with the Dune movie, she wasn't given enough screen time, in my opinion, to have a better role.
yeah, she's not like this passive love interest. She dominates the screen here.
Yeah.
She dominates every scene she's in.
Oh,
she
man.
has a play in every scene she's in.
Exactly.
She has a hidden motivation in every conversation she's having.
Yes. Little moments like that, like when the guy comes up to her and he's just like, I want you to be my coach and stuff like that. And as he's talking, they cut to her and she's got like,
She looks crazy.
oh, it reminds me of like Pacino in Godfather 2 when finding out that she had an abortion type of scene. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like Zendaya's like the stare. Oh my fucking God, she's
I wouldn't
got
go.
it.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, I would.
I wouldn't say it's Pacino and Godfather 2, but I think she did a great job. Yeah.
This is my favorite performance from her, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
I don't think any of the performances are bad in this film. I think they perfectly encapsulate what they are, in my opinion. You're gonna pause a bit.
I think that the guy who plays Art Donaldson, which is
You weren't a
Zendaya's
fan of him?
husband, he gave me too much of like. I like his character. He's this broken like submissive dude, but he gave me like theater kid vibes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like at times I didn't believe the tennis player.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that like his last role was Steven Spielberg's West Side Story.
Oh, I
don't know
heard
if you
good
knew
things
that.
about that movie too. But I get where you're coming from with the theater.
Yeah, he very much gave me theater kid vibes. I thought Josh O'Connor, the guy who plays Patrick, did a little bit of a better job as convincing me that he was a tennis player who was kind of down on his luck and didn't give a
Oh my
shit.
God, man. Like once you know like how low he is,
Yeah.
it gives you that perspective of like, I love that. I love the fact that his life from tennis went down the fucking drain. He's barely making money in his life. He can barely afford a hotel. Whereas his old friend and Zendaya, like they're fucking rich. They're one of the top 5 tennis player riches of all time type of shit.
Yeah.
So I love that contrast as well.
I also really believed Zendaya was a former pro tennis player. Like when they're playing that part of the story out, like it's very believable. Zendaya looks really believable out there.
Exactly. And another thing to add too is they made tennis look interesting. I am not a sports person.
Sure.
I don't watch any sports related things, but if you shoot something cool and
Yeah.
you shoot it uniquely, then I am all for it. This is definitely one of them.
That's part of it I love. Like when they're shooting the tennis, part of it I love. Like we just came from a high tension scene. All of a sudden, the camera's the fucking ball going back and
Yes.
forth. That's the kind of shit I love. But then it's like a tennis serve in slow motion with synths that takes a minute and a half for this guy to serve. I'm out of it again. Like some of these choices I love and some of them I hate. And it's one of those movies that there's stuff that I really, really like about it. But there's some aspects of it that I'm just like, what the fuck was this choice?
Part of me wondered too, because the first half I wasn't fully subscribed to it.
Yeah.
I can completely understand. Like I said, like it's like taking a really hard drink.
Yeah.
You take the first sip, you're like, oh fuck,
Yeah,
like,
this is kind of bad. It's
You're
like
like-
drinking Guinness. You're
it's
like,
like
the first
drinking
one you
Guin-
have, and you're like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
tastes like dirt. And then you're like, oh, Guinness is kind of good.
Exactly. And then I had like 4 other Guinnesses afterwards. But yeah, like I didn't understand why the pacing was like that until the second half, where you're like, oh, that's why this had to happen. That's why this had to happen. That's why everything had to come together. So I kind of looked at it that way, where the editing worked in its favor. You just didn't know what you were getting into the first half of it.
Yeah.
That's how I viewed it.
And like, again, I like the time jumping. I like the way the stories are, but sometimes I feel like they're doing it too much. They're doing it just for like, I don't know, to be erratic. Like
Insert like the SpongeBob like 12 minutes later.
right.
That
They're
type
like,
shit.
oh, here's 2 days ago when
yeah.
when Zendaya was horny. Here's like here's 12 years ago when he was horny. And it's like we could have cut some of this out.
Gotta cut some
I
of it.
think.
I don't think so. I feel like those scenes were necessary. However, I do think, I don't know if it was a director or studio decision, the title cards.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like people are smart enough to know the difference between one versus the other. I'm not too sure because that happens a lot where you hear these narrations, you see these title cards, and it's just like, if they took them out, would it have made a huge difference? I don't think so. I don't think if I had to see 13 years ago every 2 seconds, you
Yeah.
know, I didn't need to. They look like their younger selves. It wasn't like an Irishman thing. Thank God.
they did a good job of that.
Yeah.
Right.
They made
Because
them. Yeah.
Zendaya actually like for what like looked like like older and believable.
Yes.
I think a critique of Zendaya in the past is like she always kind of looks too young, or like she has that
Like a Tom Holland thing. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
like Tom Holland, exactly. It's when Tom Holland is cast in Uncharted, you're like, you
yeah.
look like a fucking teenager. You look like a little boy.
You don't look like a 35-year-old Nathan Drake.
Yeah, exactly,
Fucking
exactly. So
shit, man.
they did a great job with the makeup here. When they want Zendaya to look young, she looks young. When they want her to look older, like a mother, she looks older.
Yeah.
That they did a really good job of that, and
Yeah.
that really sells that's a big factor in why the time jumps work.
Exactly. And her character works in regards to her knee, like her knee breaking scene.
That shit made me cringe.
Oh, I loved it because you want to know what the scene was before that was her just cutting off the relationship with Patrick.
That's right.
So it's not like these scenes are, it's just for the sake of this. It's like, no, it happens because she finally realizes that she can't control someone.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, fuck you. I'm playing the tennis match. And then she realizes she can't even control that because her leg breaks. And the best part I really liked about it was right afterwards, she's trying to run and you hear the choir boys. You hear the choir boy song. You're like, what the fuck? It's not, that doesn't sound like synth.
Right.
Why is this happening? And then the next time you hear that is when she's having an affair with Patrick.
That's right.
Why do you think that is? I feel like it's the fact that she is trying to accept the fact that time is catching up to everyone, including herself, despite the fact that she wants to keep on being part of tennis, being part of the sport that she's overly obsessed with. She
Yeah.
compares it to a relationship, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're making weird fucking noises every time they hit the ball?
Yeah.
And it's slow motion.
Right. Her character is a control freak.
Yes.
And because of the injury, she can no longer control her career.
Yeah.
So she has to control these men and live through them, live her career through them. I like that as a concept. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I just
It comes down to execution for you.
It comes down to execution. Yeah, and man, I don't know. I want to like this movie because it takes a lot of chances. One thing I'll never say about this movie is that it's boring.
No, it is not.
It is far.
Oh my fucking God.
It is far from boring because it has all this. It's very unique. I like it enough to I want to see his next film.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I want to
Like,
see his previous films.
I want to see his previous
Because I'm
films as
curious.
well.
I've heard about Suspiria and the subject matter behind that because it was a remake of an Italian horror film from the 70s. But again, like all the films that I've read the synopsises of from him,
Yeah.
very sexualized, very
Oh, is
goes
he
into
like
that.
a fucking horny director? I don't like that shit.
Just so you know, I mean, this film kind of, you know what it is too? It's like people look at it as he's just doing it as exploitative. A lot of
Okay,
directors look
yeah.
at it in that way. I don't think this is the case. I honestly think that he put a lot of time into why these scenes exist.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the blocking in those particular scenes are done professionally, unlike other
Yes,
directors where
yes.
it just feels like I've had those moments too where I'm like, oh, is this horny just for the sake of it? And I'm watching like
That's how I felt about Saltburn, man.
Saltburn. Okay.
That movie, I don't care what anybody wants to say. That movie is horny for the sake of being horny. It's
Yeah.
fucking weird. And this one, no, you're 100% right. The blocking is fantastic.
Yeah.
It feels very personal. It feels like you're spying on these people at times.
Yeah, you know, and another thing too about it is like when the scenes do occur, it's not just out of nowhere. Like when she goes to the hotel room with them, you know, the infamous trailer moment where everyone
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?" The reason that scene exists is for her to realize how easy it is to control them. That's
Yeah.
all the scene is.
It's a test.
It's a test.
Absolutely.
But you got to give time for a scene like that. You can't just have her be like, "Oh, now they're kissing."
Yeah.
Oh, cool. It's just like, no, you gotta have to build it up. You gotta have to tell them a story. And the story is like, oh, what the fuck? Why are they bringing this up? Are they slightly drunk? Oh, you're going into this now. You know, you gotta give time for scenes like that. And that's what I love about this film it gives time. I'm so fucking glad after watching like the Godzilla X Kong movie where it's like barely getting those character scenes in.
Yeah.
This was a breath of fresh air where it's like, no, we're gonna have a 5-minute sequence, have these characters talk, have them understand each other, and then we're gonna move on to the tennis match. And
Yeah,
like,
ton of dialogue, just a ton of people just talking.
Yeah.
But we do break that up throughout the whole movie with fantastic tennis scenes. Tennis that is shot incredibly well. I don't really know many tennis movies, but I've never seen anything on screen like this.
No, this is nothing like any sports film that I've seen. And I looked at what it said on Wikipedia and IMDb. It says it's a romantic sports drama. Okay, it's erotic. It's an erotic
It's an
sports
erotic sports
Yeah, yeah,
drama.
yeah.
Romantic, no.
No, it's not romantic at all. It is definitely
It's toxic.
I would say erotic thriller, to be honest with you. It fits into the Gone Girl.
Sure.
Which again, the soundtrack, it gave me Social Network vibes.
Okay, yeah.
Which I fucking love. I fucking love the Social Network soundtrack. I love this. This is my favorite soundtrack of the year. This beats out Spaceman. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. 9 Inch Nails. You hear about them?
I know 9 Inch Nails, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't
You don't vibe with
didn't
it?
fit to me.
Okay.
But I understand what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
The music added the tension.
Yes.
And I felt that tension, even though I felt like the music didn't really work that well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You weren't a fan of the music.
But
I
I
get that.
understood what he was going for, and I think it worked in the sense of it added to the tension that they were trying to build.
And I'm also biased too because I do like EDM music. I'm one of those like synthwave, vaporwave, EDM, electronic, Daft Punk. You know, like that was my fucking go-to. So when I heard the music playing at the first challenge, like dun, 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 I'm like, oh, this is my shit.
I know that you're not alone in that though. Like people are really enjoying the score. I think I might be the odd one out
That's
that
fair.
didn't enjoy it, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I got to talk about that ending too, because in the theater, everyone fucking gasped when they saw it. So they bring this scene up. We've spoiled this whole fucking movie. So if you haven't seen it, fucking watch it. That's my recommendation. But anyways, so the scene is the two guys, and it's just like, oh, you went out with Zendaya or whatever. Okay, cool. Give me hints. And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like, I can't just tell you, dude. And it's like, okay, well, do the serve.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I did the serve. And then he finds out, oh, you were sleeping with her. Okay. And at the very end of the movie, in slow motion,
Too long though.
he does the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
The whole theater gasped. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes! Oh, that was to me the climax. The
Yeah, it
climax
is,
of realizing his reaction.
Yeah.
And them looking at each other. That fucking smirk Patrick gives.
And then he just goes like, "Fuck you."
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's not even about it. It's not, and
And
again,
then he goes, "Fuck you," and then he cuts back to Patrick, and Patrick's just like,
yeah. I'm a piece of shit, and so is she. you
yeah.
know?
He
And-
just leans into it. For once, it's like, let's just be honest about what it is.
yeah.
Look, I love that. I love that was the moment. That was the callback. It was smart to set that up in the past
Yes.
and bring that back. It was smart, but it took 2 minutes of that serve to get to that moment. That's another part where I feel like the execution hurt it.
Okay.
Like I didn't like the super slow motion to get into the serve, and I felt like that those last points they were dragging it out so long, and it's like it felt like kind of just fabricated tension. Like you're trying so hard to make it like it's already a tense moment. Let
Yeah.
it play out. That's how I felt.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think if the music was different, would you have said that, or is it really comes down to the pacing?
It comes down to the use of slow motion mostly.
Okay, so pacing like the slow
the,
motion.
the
Okay,
pacing
I get that.
and the slow motion. Yeah.
Okay.
The music, I didn't like it, but it wouldn't take me out of it really.
Okay.
Like I thought that was a great moment. It
Yeah.
was a payoff of this film. If this film didn't have that, I would have really fucking hated this film.
I knew it was gonna have something though.
Yeah, it had a very clever.
That tension was building and building.
yeah, and then they have the hug.
Oh yeah, man.
It was fun.
It was good. You know what? It's crazy for me to say this, but my main issue is I wanted more. I really wanted more. I wanted to see more of these characters. I wanted to see an epilogue. I don't know. These characters are well written characters. I actually gave a shit. I was like, fuck, man. I know this movie's like 2 hours, but I would have been down for like 2.5. Like, give a little context of like what happens. Does Zendaya talk to talk to Patrick. I keep saying Zendaya. Her name's Tashi Duncan, and
Yeah.
But still, like Tashi, is she gonna talk to her husband? Are they gonna split? Are they gonna argue? Is she gonna talk to Patrick? What's gonna happen? Because I knew after Patrick gave her his phone number, I'm like, oh, she's gonna call. She's gonna fucking call. There's no way she won't. And then when she does, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get intense, you know. So I wanted to see more of that because you don't get a whole lot of like erotic thrillers that have these interesting characters. It's usually just like, I'm the guy that looks sexy.
Sure.
You're the girl that looks sexy. Let's do this, you know? Erotic thrillers, the last one I remember that was really good was Gone Girl.
Yeah, one of the best.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite because erotic thrillers is not a genre I fucking enjoy.
No, okay,
Really.
well, understandable,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I feel like we're back to the erotic thrillers with this movie, man, because it's like, it's done well, and it's not like super intense. It's just the tennis match. It's not like other erotic thrillers where it's like, oh, there's a murder, oh, there's killing. It's like, no, it's very calm and collected from an outsider perspective.
That's right. The stakes are low from an outsider perspective, but they do such a good job at making the stakes so high.
Yeah. They made a film about tennis interesting.
You know,
right?
like this guy is like the top tennis player, and this inconsequential match to his career is the most important match of his life.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
And the more I think about it too, the more I think of the sequences, like you said, like maybe there was a lot of slow motion, but those slow motion shots incorporated with the sequence really got to me. And it's just the characters, man. I love the fact that it goes into darker territories with all of them and how time progresses in a negative way, regardless of how rich you are or how famous you are. Everyone has flaws. And I feel like all of them at the very end, when you see like Tashi like yelling and cheering and it's like, oh, he won and stuff. It's like, that is the fucking depressing side. And it just ends. It's like, where do they go from here? Nothing crazy good.
Nothing good.
Nothing good.
I'd like to think that, you know, both of those guys in that moment realize, oh, like our friendship is more important. That's where I think, like, if there's an epilogue, that's where I think it goes. Like, I think in that moment, they're just like, the love triangle is finally broken.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? This girl is not good for either of us.
Yeah.
And we used to be like literally like the closest of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think they have this kind of realization in that moment.
Yeah, I think so too. I also like the fact that I'm saying they're all pieces of shit, but they're all like good and bad.
Yeah.
It's not like they're all evil, like, I'm going to manipulate. No, it's just like, it feels human.
Yeah, and a lot of they're just pieces of shit, like to their own detriment. Sometimes they're bad to themselves.
Exactly.
They're not doing people dirty necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just like degenerates at times, you know?
Oh, I love that. I fucking love that. And it does it so well. And again, I could go on all day about how I love these characters. I love how they're written. I wish more films took advantages like this and took chances because, again, the subject matter is very much taboo for some people. They're like, oh, well, I don't really want to see it if it's just like sex and tennis, you know?
Which
but
is kind of how they sold it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
the
not,
marketing.
It's not a fair shake. Not
No.
a fair shake, no.
No. So that's how I view it. Nathan, do you have any other final thoughts?
Okay, final thoughts. Is this movie worth the watch? Yes, it is. I think so. I think so. I think it's worth watching. Did I love it as much as you? No. Is it a movie of the year contender for me? No. But there's a lot to like here. Some interesting style choices that didn't work for me. But I'm gonna give this movie a 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
You were expecting worse for me?
I was expecting lower, not gonna lie.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. All right, I
Because
respect
there
that.
is, like we just talked about, a lot we like. Some characters that have some thought, some style choice. Like this man knows where to put a camera.
Yeah.
Cinematically, a beautiful film. A premise that is very cool. But it's
yeah.
just like some of this stuff didn't work for me.
Fair
Your final
enough.
thoughts. Your
My
final rating.
final thoughts. All right, guys, listen up here. This is when the real answer comes in. I'm just kidding, Nathan.
Go ahead. Let you have your moment.
I know. Challengers was fucking amazing. It was intense. I don't know why they say it's a sports drama. It's one of the best erotic thrillers I've seen in a long fucking time. If you're gonna watch it, fucking watch it ASAP. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. This might be my favorite movie of the year currently. Wow.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you for watching this episode of Real Talk Podcast. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to your boys. Let us know in the comments what you thought of challengers. Are you more on Nev's side? Are you more on our side? Check out the reactions we got, the Patreon going on. We got a whole lot of things going on the channel. Check us out, support your boys, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.